Welcome back. Today we're having another one of our new myopia podcast style episodes, talking with participants of myopia and their vision improvement. Today we have on Tim, who started out with minus 5.25 diopters, is currently at minus 2.75 diopters. It's still, again, new. The audio is not always perfect, but I hope you enjoy this episode and Tim's improvements to date.
Like you already know, and the others probably don't, I'm Tim and I'm 35 years old. And I think I started wearing glasses at the age of 3. The first thing I remember was that when I left the optometrist with my mom, all the floor was kind of bumpy and I fell down the stairs and the glasses were like almost broken. So we had to go inside and have him fix them. And it took me a while to get used to wearing the glasses. And I don't really remember how fast the myopia worsened, but I think it got gradually worse when I started school. And I also had a Game Boy when I was that age, and that certainly didn't help with the eyesight. And when I turned, I think 13 or 14, I got into computer games a lot, obviously while wearing glasses, which made it worse. And I remember having to go to see the optometrist or the ophthalmologist several times because I couldn't see very well. And I was probably around, I found a pair of glasses the other day, and they were, I think when I put them on, they might be around 1.5 or 2-ish. I can't really remember, but I remember that I wore them when I was 11 or 12 years old. So I probably, packed on another 3 diopters from age 14 to 21. And then my vision didn't really get worse anymore. I got into online poker for some years while studying and made a sort of half living with that. But that's also not very, very good for eyesight in general. And I think I answered that in one of your emails or in the How's It Going emails, that I sort of stumbled upon myopia when my insurance guy wanted to talk me into a new plan, and they advertised that they would cover at least the insurance part of the LASIK surgery. And so I did some search about that, and I found a book. I don't remember the author, Take Off Your Glasses and See. I read that and I walked around, I don't know, it wasn't like 2 weeks without glasses, but with minus 5 diopters, that's not very pleasant. And it was like a Google search or a YouTube search. I don't remember exactly. It was the Bates method. And there was a guy who explained how it works. And I did that for, I don't know, not very long. And then one of your videos popped up in the related video on the side, related video part on the side. And I watched that and it sounded as it would make sense. So I started reading, I think in December or beginning of December, 2017. And I read for like 2-3 weeks. And then, then I started with the reduction. I think I didn't really follow the plan, so I didn't go for differentials first. I gathered all the information and worked out how much I probably would have to reduce. And then I just ordered the first reduction. I do wear contacts, at least when I'm at work or doing sports, but at home I try to wear glasses as often as possible just to give the eyes a break. And so I went from there. It was December 22nd, 2017 when I started.
And that was minus 5 diopters or close to that?
Yeah, I was left eye minus 5.25, and right eye was 4.75 with a 0.75 cylinder.
Okay. And what are you wearing right now?
Right now, I'm wearing 2.75, but I
And
have
this,
the contacts are 2.75, and those are plus 1.5 lenses that I use when I'm at the computer.
okay. And these are differentials or normalized?
This would be like the contacts are no that are the normalized, and the plus 1.5 makes it the differentials, I'd say.
Got it.
So
Okay.
we're a little blurry right now.
Got it. Okay. So that's normally what you do. You wear the contacts and you wear the plus 1.25 on top
I'm
of
not.
it.
Yeah, I don't spend very much time close up. At least I try to. And when it's longer, I try to do it without glasses or contacts because I can feel that. Yeah, you like you said in one of your videos, and I pay attention to that. That blink rate's reduced, so the eyes tend to get dry. Even though I don't really have a lot of problems with that usually. I've been wearing contacts for 15 years now. And I usually get along with them quite well. I don't wear them overnight, obviously, but I wear them, yeah, as often as possible. It's not really pleasant to do sports while wearing glasses and you sweat, and that's just not very
Yeah.
good.
So minus 2.75 is where you're at currently with the normalized. Is that right?
Yeah.
And how long have you been wearing those?
Let me see in my journal. I switched to 2.75 end of September this year. I think if my glasses in 3 diopters, they broke, were very cheap ones, and I would have probably waited like 1 or 2 more weeks because I was not like totally satisfied with my vision back then, but they broke and I didn't want to order a new one for, I don't know, 2 to 3 weeks. So I said, well, and I had 2 weeks off of work. So I decided, well, let's try the 2.75, and in good lighting conditions, I can see quite well with them already. But since autumn and winter is arriving, and when the weather is not as good, in the beginning I had a little trouble seeing properly, but it's gotten better in the last 3 to 4 weeks. So the reduction was probably a little early.
And how did you start with the reductions? Did you have a supportive optometrist or did you buy online? How did you go about the first getting away from the -5?
No supportive optometrist. I read a bunch of the improvement reports on myopia and watched a bunch of videos, and then I stumbled upon there's an ebook that a guy put together, Cliff Blue, I believe is his name, and I read that as well. And I said, well, and I think in the ebook he suggests that you should reduce 0.5 when you're over, or as long as you're over 3 diopters. And so I went and did calculation a little bit and just ordered a pair of contacts. I think 4.5. And I also wrote down the first Snellen reading that I had with those, and those were with the left eye 20/25, and with the right eye 20/40. So I think it was quite a lot of over prescription in there as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then how long did it take you from the first ones to actually experience improvement?
That went pretty quickly. I had what was that? Like 3 weeks later, 14th of January 2018, I had the first 20/20 reading on the Snellen. I'm not really sure if I had discovered active focus by then, but I could see pretty well, and I went and dropped to 4.0, so 4 diopters in both eyes. So I dropped the cylinder because I think I saw in one of your videos that you said when it's only 0.5, you don't need to really worry about that, and if it's higher, you can do the spherical equivalent. So just add half of the cylinder prescription to the sphere and make it work that way. So I went and got the 4.0 on 14th of January. And I read, what did I read? Oh, I think I don't have that here, what I read then. It was somewhere around 2040, I believe.
And in that phase, like where did you start out, like from an emotional context? Skepticism, at what point did you go, okay, this is working? Like where is that transition from where you started out to where you're into it?
I think it's probably by the time when I first looked at the Snellen, and I tried to always use the same lighting. I hung it somewhere on a pretty large window, but the sun's usually coming inside that window, so it's not shining on the Snellen, but it's more like in my face, so to speak. So I always try to choose the same weather conditions to measure. And when I think when I looked at the Snellen and blinked and it just the letters got sharper, then I said, well, apparently there is something happening here. And I think when I went down from 4.5 to 4.0 and then saw the first improvements, and I was pretty sure that this is working.
Pretty sure. So that's a good, because I'm guessing, right? But in most cases, most people, especially if you've done other stuff before, and especially if you've done Bates method before, and especially if you're just a normal person, like skepticism is somewhere between healthy and necessary, right? But then there's always like that moment where you go from, yeah, I think this is working, to like where you're excited about where you're at. Like where would you say, or if that has happened, like where would you say diopter-wise that's maybe been the case?
I think as soon as I went below 4 diopters, that's probably where, because I mean, I know that I started around 5 diopters in both eyes. And when I went, below 4.5, or when I reduced more than a diopter, I was, definitely sure that this is working. I mean, it's always when you reduce, you don't see the ants in space kind of vision, but you see reasonably well. And I'm also, at least when I drive to work and it's not overly dark or anything, I know that you shouldn't, but I drive with the normalized because it seems to work for me. And when I noticed that even though I've reduced without seeing an ophthalmologist and without being measured and everything, when I reduced for the second or the third time, I definitely was excited that it's apparently working. And I think it was also inside the 4 month period where the ciliary spasm is like going away, and that's when I had the fastest gains. And that usually leaves you all excited, and when that stops, it slows down. And I think that's also where I thought, well, this works, but it's getting slower, and you're getting impatient, obviously, because it was so fast before. And I was really sick of wearing contacts and glasses. And but it's working, and you need patience. It's not a race. And it takes however long it takes.
Yeah. And what would you say, what was the motivation to make you go through all this trouble?
I've been wearing glasses basically all my life, and I'm a teacher, a phys ed and English teacher. So I'm in the gym quite a while, and when you sweat, and I'm a pretty active person as well, and every time you sweat, the glasses are in the way, and contacts. I mean, I'm wearing contacts that are like very permeable, I think you say, for air, so I don't really have problems with red eyes or anything like that. But it's always like a pain in the ass, if you have to put them in, and it's always, you wake up at night and you want to do something, you have to take care of your kid, and you can't find anything. And I really wanted to just open the eyes and be able to see without putting anything in my eye or in front of the eye.
And no LASIK, huh?
Not really, no. I mean, when I did all the reading in your website and found all the evidence, that's basically telling everybody who reads a little bit that it's one of the greatest scams and also really dangerous. That was off the table basically immediately. If I think I found one or two articles, and I didn't really think about it after I've read that.
That's amazing, right? Like it seems to me, and I'm just genuinely saying this as we're sharing this opinion, how people possibly get LASIK. If you just do one quick Google search, how much stuff there's out there that tells you about all the side effects and risks.
Yeah. A co-worker of mine, she has, or she was -9 or something like that. I think in the summer before I discovered all of that, she got LASIK. And I think at one time, she's not wearing glasses again right now, but at one point she complained that her vision was apparently getting worse again, but that sort of, I don't know, it went away again. I think I didn't really say something to her because she's already done it. So, and I don't really wanted to start, or didn't really want to start a discussion about all of that. But that was when I thought, wow, I'm really glad I ditched that bullet.
And how is that, like, especially being in physical education, teaching, when you see kids wear glasses, do you say anything? Do you think anything? Do you just let it pass?
That's a tough thing. I mean, I'm also an English teacher, so inside the classroom, and a lot of kids wear glasses, and especially when they are a little older, like 7th, 8th graders, the older they get, the more kids wear glasses inside a classroom. And I'm not a doctor, and I really don't want to get their parents on my back. But if someone's like saying, well, I can't see properly, and or when I see some kid like looking really close at their exercise book or book and still wearing the glasses, I said, well, take them off. It's not very good for your eyes, and maybe they'll get better. And I remember that I had I don't know, I think he graduated already. I had a kid in English, and he wore the -0.5 diopters. So basically no glasses, and he wore them all the time. And I said, well, try and put them away for a little while, and just to make sure, or just to try it out. And I kept asking him, and he said, well, I don't need them anymore after several weeks. And I mean, if he would have continued to wear them, he'd probably be like, I don't know, 1.5, 2 diopters by now, maybe.
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum, and I'm really looking forward to this online selling of glasses and apps that allow you to get you a quote unquote prescription. So this whole medical thing hopefully will go away, because like what you're saying, the difficult thing and getting parents on your back and all this stuff, like we're kind of not allowed to talk, right? I mean, we can, but we have to be super careful with our word choices, and we have to be super careful what we discuss, because there is this whole prescription thing hovering over it.
Yeah. Both of my parents and my sister also wear glasses. I think my parents are somewhere between 7 and 9 diopters also. Both of my parents-in-law also wear glasses, and my stepmother, I think she's somewhere in the double digits. And I think I've mentioned what I'm doing, but especially with my parents-in-law, I don't know, they don't really care. But my parents, they are like they belong to the doubters basically. So they say, well, yeah, it seems to work, but I don't think that you will get back to not needing glasses anymore. So I say to them, well, we have to wait and see. And I mean, I tell them, well, I've reduced 2 diopters now, 2.5 diopters, and say, wow, that's great. And but maybe you're lucky. And so they are really, belonging to the doubters. Even though I took I don't know, I tried to explain to them what I'm doing and why this is working, and why wearing glasses while doing close-ups is bad, and how everything's getting worse. But I don't know. It's just you go to an ophthalmologist, the doctor, and he tells you, well, you need glasses, and so I don't know, you believe those who are educated, like
Yeah.
officially educated.
Yeah, yeah. And I agree. And I used to hope that somebody would take over the face of this who was in the profession. Of course, then it turned out that you can't really do that without getting in a bunch of trouble. But it's definitely, it sucks that it's both a topic that one, people don't care about, and two, even if they do care about it, it's such a murky thing, right? Where my dumb face is on the internet talking about it, but then a proper ophthalmologist says your eyesight is static and you're out of luck. It's unfortunate.
I made I sort of wanted to go and see my ophthalmologist as soon as I went down, or I went below 3 diopters. So I think I probably make an appointment. I'm not sure what he's going to measure. I mean, it's a dark room and everything, so I'm probably worse than or he's going to measure me worse than I probably actually am. And I'm not telling him anything, I think, but I'm pretty sure, or no, I'm curious how he's going to explain the change or the improvement that I made or that I've made. And maybe he's going to ask me if I changed something, and I don't know, I'm really curious what he's going to say, because the eyes are definitely better.
Some people surprisingly are supportive, and some people know about this, like optometrists and ophthalmologists. Every so often I meet one, or you get a mention in the Facebook group of somebody who says, yeah, my optometrist agrees with all this stuff. But most of the time you get something like, well, it's because you're getting older and that's why your distance vision improves, but soon you're going to have presbyopia, or nonsense like that.
When my wife stayed at home parent leave with our first child, she's also a teacher, and she stayed at home for a little more than a year, and her eyes improved so she was around, I don't know, like 2.5 or something, and now she's at 1.5, and she didn't do anything. Or I mean, I've been telling her, don't wear your glasses when you look at your phone, don't wear your glasses when reading, but she's sort of like sloppy with it. But when she went to see the ophthalmologist, he said, it seemed to me like he's almost knowing that when you don't do a bunch of close-up, like marking tests and everything, this might help to improve your eyesight. Well, that's the same guy I'm going to go and see, so I'll be curious what he said.
You know, and the funny thing is, like, I like Germany, not because of my Germanness, but there's cool bits there. Like, I've talked to optometrists and ophthalmologists in Germany that are way more respectful and open-minded than like some other countries. I'm not going to say the US because that would be pointing a finger, but when you show scientific research, right, and when you show facts about biology, and when you show context, I always feel like Germans are much more likely to at least give you the benefit of the doubt. Not all of them, I mean, people are people, but I've had more good experiences in Germany than I've had, like in the UK, I've had the worst experiences, and this is completely anecdotal, of course, but I have a soft spot for the Germans on that front. And then there's Fielmann. Is that near you? Is there the chain?
Probably 50 or 60 kilometers from where I live.
Because I bought a bunch of glasses from Fielmann, and I've sent so many people there, because you can literally buy the raw lenses on eBay, and you go to Fielmann and you buy one of their frames. They don't even ask you any questions. For like €7 or so at the time, I mean, this is years ago, you just hand them 2 envelopes with the raw lenses, and they just cut them in there for you. It's beautiful.
That's great.
Yeah, because most optometrists, because I used to spend a fair amount of time traveling around Europe, and in a period when I was still reducing my diopters, and before you could buy glasses online, so I was always stuck in this position where sometimes I would have to see a bunch of different people to find one who would sell me the glasses I want. And then later down the road, like when you could buy stuff online, that was my go-to, like lenses from eBay and Fielmann.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of that easier if you just buy them online. That's what I also did.
Yeah, now you can just buy the whole thing online, but I also have a weird face. So I prefer to go in there and have somebody tell me what kind of glasses will fit my silly face. And then because I like transitions, you know, the photochromic tint, which is like, if you go buy it, I bought a pair once actually in Germany and I paid 700 euros all in. And then I bought the same things online to adjust the lenses, and they were like 80 or so euros. I don't remember exactly. And then I paid another 70 euros for the frames and another 7 euros to get them cut for the same end product.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents-in-law, they both have presbyopia. Obviously, they are around in their 70s, early 70s, and also are myopic, and so they also have to have those special glasses. And I think my mother-in-law, she spent like 1,300 on their last pair of glasses, and that's ridiculous. I mean, I've told them, well, I can do that for you online. I mean, you have all the possibility to measure the distance or the frame size you need and how they have to cut the glasses and everything. That's pretty precise. I mean, I've been doing that for myself for 2 years now. But yeah, they're skeptical. They say, well, no, I have to go and see the professional. And the insurance, I think they cover, I don't know, like 300 or 400 of the whole thing, and that's ridiculous.
I have the price sheets, the wholesale price sheets that the optometrist gets when they order the lenses. And most lenses with all the coatings are in the single digit euros. Like when you look through that sheet, it's just like 3 euros, 3 euros 50, 5 euros, 6 euros. Like some specialty lenses, multifocal lenses will, you know, be like 25. Ooh. But then what you're paying retail, like 1,300 is just, that's like 90% profit.
Yeah. It's only plastic.
It's clear curved pieces of plastic, and people wouldn't believe me for the longest time. And then a year or two ago, an LA Times article came out where an executive from LensCrafters, which is I think was the biggest chain in the US, and he told the story. He said, we're making 5,000% markups, lenses cost $5. It's all a giant scheme. And since it was the LA Times, now I'm quoting that more than my own stuff, like my own sheets, because people believe that because they see it in a newspaper or magazine.
I think I read that.
Yeah, and then there's millions of dollars in lobbying spent to make sure that glasses are prescriptions, right? Because God forbid you would buy clear curved pieces of plastic on your own. But people know this. I really appreciate you taking the time. And I'm also wondering, so you're 2.75 now. What are you foreseeing? Like, what's your plan for 2020?
During the past 2 winters, I always had the impression that I usually improve during the summer. And in the winter, I sort of don't really make a lot of improvements because the light's so bad. And since I made the reduction probably a little too early this time. And my plan is to hopefully be able to reduce by, I don't know, maybe February, March, so to 2.5. But since I'm probably still dealing with the astigmatism in my right eye a little bit, I can see I notice sometimes a little bit of not the usual double vision that you get before it gets clear, but like the other double vision that's probably coming from the astigmatism. So I think I'm going to take a little more time before the next reduction, since I've noticed that when I went below 3 diopters, and it's still a 0.5 increment, but it's a way bigger reduction percentage-wise than before. And so that's probably the reason that I should take a little more time and before the next reduction. I think it was probably very, I would not necessarily say aggressive, but I went on pretty quickly with reduction, since I always reduce when I was able to see or to clear up the 2020 or 2016 line of active focus. So that I think that put me around like seeing without no focusing, probably around 20/30ish, probably. And so outdoors, it's not a problem. But when I go inside a shop or a store, that's usually when I notice that I'm wearing or that I'm undercorrected.
Yeah. So maybe by the end, by this time next year, maybe we'll be around 2 diopters. What do you think?
That sounds possible. I would say.
Then you're really close. The thing that people sometimes don't realize is like what you said earlier. Well, when your parents are doubting or families doubting that you're ever going to be without glasses, it's every diopter makes a difference. Because like -2, then you're right around the corner from not needing glasses for close-up, which is a huge thing, right? Because then you need to not worry about differentials anymore.
Yeah.
Milestones.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of people, when you read improvement reports or the blogs of people, most of them stop, or at least start to stop wearing glasses when they are at one diopter or 0.75. So that's only, or that would be only 4 more reductions left.
And actually, my personal favorite, and there's lots of ways to do the last quote unquote last diopter. I like 1 diopter, 1.25 even, and then alternating wearing that when you need it and taking it off when you don't, right? Like, because at around 1 diopter, 1.25, on a bright sunny day, you take them off and you don't really need them. Right. And then you're basically you're practicing active focus. It's a little bit more challenging than it was before. But then when you're over it, you're putting the glasses back on and you have full clarity. And that, it's like the 0 diopter reset, kind of like that practice, to me and to more people than not, seems to be the most convenient way to get over that last diopter. Because you kind of go, okay, I don't need my glasses, and then when you get uncomfortable, you put them on, right? And you're not really in that always active focus struggle. You're either really in active focus mode, or you don't have to bother at all. And over time, like over a year and a half or so, you need the glasses less and less and less and less. And that also helps with that, with not fretting over one day your vision's better, one day your vision's worse. When you're reducing at quarter diopter decrements after 1 diopter, you kind of run into that. It's a big decrease, right? Like the difference between -1 and -0.75 is a pretty big decrease. So when you have a bad day or a bad week, you really notice it. Versus if you're wearing the -1.00, 1.25, then you just wear them when you need them. And it just gradually lessens till you get to the point where there's no more point in wearing them, right? And it's like a week goes by and you forgot that you haven't been wearing them. Like that's my favorite way to deal with the last diopter.
Okay. So, will you use plus lenses in that stage for close-up?
I don't. If you're making improvements, like if you're doing that one, what I was just talking about, and over time you're improving, it's much easier and less tricky than using plus lenses. Like the defocus, peripheral defocus with plus lenses is funky. Some people don't get along with plus lenses too well. And if you get enough distance vision time, in most cases, there's no need for plus. The only time I say plus lenses is usually when we're dealing with kids, and kids who just function at much closer distances and whose eyes respond more rapidly. But for us, in most cases, you can do it without plus lenses.
Okay.
And I just like less complexity, right? Like if I can get away without having to do a thing, then I prefer not to do the thing.
Definitely.
Hey, do you think, before we end this, and by the way, I really appreciate this, because what I've been saying is this makes such a difference to me. Like I'm so over reading improvement reports in text and having no interaction. I feel like I'm in some kind of jail, you know, I live, like it's ironic because I'm getting away from the screen, but in doing so, I'm on the screen all the time typing at people. So I really appreciate you coming on and having an actual chat with me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Like it was really fun, and really I was really excited talking to you. Um, I mean, I've seen a bunch of your videos, but I was always wondering. Yeah, I mean, you've managed to get rid of your glasses, and you put obviously a lot of effort into helping other people do so as well. And I mean, I know why you do it, but it obviously, at least from my point of view, it's a lot of work. And yeah, I was just curious on, or yeah, why go through all that trouble if you fixed your own eyesight? I mean, to a certain extent, I mean, you would be fine or out of the woods if you just published the information online and then said, well, do whatever you want, and I've given you the knowledge. And
It's like what they say about the boiling the frog, right? I don't know how the saying goes, but is a German saying for boiling the frog?
I'm not sure.
But it's like that. Like I thought at first that if I just stuck it online, that would do the trick, but it didn't quite do the trick. Because then it's like, then you still need website and web design, and how does it show up on search engine? And somebody has to answer questions, and it's incomplete. And I tried other people to get other people to deal with that, and that worked only for a little while. And then for a while, it turned into I'll have a coffee in the morning, and it's my procrastination. Like you read the blog. I mean, it's half of it is useless ranting, right?
Yeah.
So it was mostly that. Like it was some useful information, but then I would write because I would get emails, right? And earlier on, there was a lot more emails from optometrists and people in the industry saying mean things to me. And that would energize me to write posts. And when you scroll back to the earlier history, there was a lot more angry ranting because I was emotionally responding to ridicule from people who didn't know what they were talking about. And that was inspiring me to write more stuff because I'm like, well, here's science and here's stuff and here's why you're wrong. This is not the right reason to do anything. Like the good story would be that I'm so altruistic and I want everybody to be saved, but really it was just procrastination and being irritated. And then when people started sharing improvement reports, then I was happy about it and I wanted to share those, right? I'm like, look, this works. And then from there till today, every step's been like at some point Google started censoring myopia, and that pissed me off, right? Like whenever I think I can stop doing this, something happens that I feel like forces me or motivates me to get into it more. So it's not, there's no master plan. It's just every day goes by and some email shows up or something happens that makes me, turn on myopia and write something.
Yeah, I really hope that somebody, or at least a lot of people, get to know about this, and maybe we'll reach a number where we're just too relevant to censor anything, and maybe, I don't know, it's definitely knowledge that should be spread. And yeah, I mean, you see a lot of people just wear glasses at a very young age, and their eyesight's just worsening. And I mean, it's not only they have to spend a lot of money for glasses, but they also run the risk of retina detachment. My dad had, I think, 2 of them in both eyes, and the first one was, I was 10 or something like that, and the eye surgery was not that advanced by then. And today, I think he's able to see bright and dark on that eye, and a little shadows and all of that, but not a lot more. And so he had, what was that, like 5-6 years ago, he had a retinal detachment in the other eye, but they were able to fix that, and he's seeing pretty okay with that. But he's around -8, so right in the risk zone. And I think that's something that is preventable, and the knowledge is out there. And sort of like, to me, it's like a crime, basically. Like, how do you say that? Körperverletzung. If you sell glasses to someone with 0.5 diopters and then sell them the stronger ones until they reach the critical diopter level.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then things like what you were saying, like charging a 70-year-old person 1,300 euros for something that like you're selling it to them for, it costs them like 20, 30. Let's just be generous and say it costs them 100 euro, right? Like it's robbery. And you call the thing a prescription, right? It's just, this is why myopia exists, because I get fired up about these things because it's wrong. Like it is, whether it's willful ignorance or whether it's just blind arrogance, just making that kind of profit margin, right? While telling people that there is no other choice. These things get me excited in a not positive way. Like I'm like, this can't, it's not right? And the science exists, like it's not far-fetched. It's a Google Scholar search away how this whole thing happens. And lens-induced myopia has like 50,000 Google Scholar search results. What you're saying, like I hope this spreads, and I think like conversations like you and me talking is going to get people to watch what we talk about, and is going to get them to think more than just me talking at a screen by myself.
Yeah, that would be nice.
It's going to be a statue of you, not me.
We'll see.
Hey, do you think, by the way, before we go, last thing, I wonder, do we need German videos? Would it make any difference?
I think it actually crossed my mind at some point, and I sort of planned to ask you if you would be okay if I started, I don't know, like a German explanation for those videos, or if I would make a blog or anything like that. Because a lot of people, my sister included, I think I've sent her a bunch of your videos and also the ebook, and she said, well, I mean, her English is pretty okay, but she said, well, yeah, it's also scientific and all the terminology, and I'm not really sure how it works. I mean, obviously she's too lazy to ask me, but I think that it's maybe a problem that it's not only Germany, it's also Switzerland and Austria, and I think it's like a lot of people, like 100 billion or maybe more. So maybe, I think it's probably partly the language that keeps it from spreading even more. I mean, a lot of people talk English, but not all of them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe I'll do a few German ones, and then maybe we need to do this in this format, right? Like we can chat about these things versus me just shouting at the screen, right? When these topics come up, we can just have a conversation about them, maybe in German, right?
Shout at each other in German.
No, not shout. No, I'm saying me shouting at the screen,
Yeah.
not us shouting. But sometimes I really struggle with all of these solo conversations I'm having with a camera lens.
Probably makes you feel a little weird sometimes.
It's super weird. I feel like you have to be either, I don't know. You have to have some motivation to do it. This is much better because we're having a conversation. And I think what I was saying before, I think people watching this, people seeing you make improvements, somebody who's not me, right? Your experience, your perspective, a real person making improvements, I think is going to get a lot of people one step closer to trying this out.
I hope they do. I mean, it's not rocket science, and everybody can do it. It just requires a little bit of discipline, not to be addicted to your phone and maybe change glasses when you work close up, but it's not something that a regular person can't do. And order glasses online has really gotten really easy. If you happen to find a friendly optometrist, it's even easier. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Tim. I really appreciate it. And you maybe motivated me to make a German video in the next near future.
And were you born in Germany, or did your parents come from?
No, I was born in Germany. I haven't lived there since I was a teenager, so my German is a little rusty and a little bit funky, and that's probably why I haven't been that tempted, but there's definitely a lot of Germanness in there still.
It's okay. Okay.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna turn off this. All right, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Tim has made some amazing improvements. I hope he's going to get to -2 diopters this year. I hope maybe we can do a follow-up with him. I have several more of these episodes already made, and I'm reaching out to more participants to get more of these conversations going. If you enjoy this style of video, feel free to leave a comment below, share your thoughts, give it a thumbs up. Let me know if this format is something that you like. Thanks. See you in the next one.